Welcome to the Mortgage Multiplier with Fannie Mae. Today we're talking about the hidden secrets homeowners really don't realize, or home buyers they really don't realize what they need, or this is like the hidden secret. But I
Mhm.
have a special guest. That's what I have a special guest, and I'm gonna read her bio because she's so
Oh,
sweet like that. Okay. This is Conversations with Brokers. We're talking about the hidden secrets of home buying. Tressa Pope, MBA founder and owner of Mortgage Brokerage. This is her bio from her website. She said, "Okay, I admit I'm tenacious when it comes to finding answers, solving mortgage loan challenges. Colleagues often reach out when their deals head south, and I'm always ready to roll up my sleeves." I can see her on her videos now, rolling up her sleeves
great.
and helping out. Solving problems is part of what drives her. It's a combination of her tenaciousness and a deep passion for seeing others purchase their home. While she's always ready to assist a home buyer, what is it? I do have an affiliate to helping low income minority families acquire their first home. This is why we connect so
This is
much.
very connect. Yes, yes.
I always enjoy helping small business owners and people who work in the arts because I love removing roadblocks and beating the odds. Girl, we got a lot to talk about tonight. She began her career in the entertainment industry,
Mhm.
but she made a career pivot and began at the bottom of the ro- she began at the bottom in the mortgage industry. It
I
seemed
was wrong.
right. Okay. It seemed no one wanted to help her move up. I can attest to that too.
Yeah.
I created opportunities to advance my career on my own, and it worked out. Are we in church?
Yes, we are.
With over 20 years of mortgage lending experience, extensive corporate growth, and earning an MBA from Keller Graduate School of Management, she took another risk and started TBG Mortgage Lending so that she can help a wider range of peoples and families achieve their home ownership dreams. Wow, like, oh my goodness. Okay, so
You didn't even know all of it, huh?
I did not even know all of that, but me and Teresa met at a
Tressa
broker.
Fannie Mae. Tressa.
Tressa, okay, look, I've been jacking up your name for 2 years, right?
We'll
And you
finally
just
be
let
on the
me
record. Yes.
you just let me go on with it. But we met at a conference and
Mhm.
we clicked. And as I read your bio, it's like looking in the mirror. That's why we connect so
Right.
well. And a lot of people, they probably think that we're competing against each other, but we're not. What
Right.
we do is uplift each other as small
Mhm.
business owners, as
Yeah.
women.
Yeah.
We love to lift up each other because we have
There's
like a
enough.
lot. It is enough, right?
There's
And
enough for all of us, right? Yeah.
it's enough. And I say everybody has their tribe, and what you're passionate about, those are the ones that you're assigned to you. You're going to help them out. And what you're passionate about, people are going to see it. Right. So this is not a competition. It is love. It's a unity. It's a uplifting. And who said women can't come together? Who said women can't, you know,
I don't know.
be united and help each other, uplift each other? Who said that?
I don't know. I don't know who said that, but it was probably a man.
Oh, what the world. All right. So, is there anything you want to say? Because we're going to have some fun today.
We're gonna have some fun. No, I just want to say when I first met you at the conference, we were just fast friends. It was immediate.
Yes.
We clicked immediately. We started talking about how we had the same passions of really helping people that are often overlooked.
Yes.
So there are, people that want their slice of the American dream, whatever that's, whatever the definition is for them. If
Mm-hmm.
they define that as, oh, I want to be a homeowner, and they don't necessarily have the resources, or they didn't grow up in a family that talked
Mm-hmm.
about how
Mm-hmm.
to be a homeowner or
Mm-hmm.
how to leverage home ownership, they didn't grow up
Mm-hmm.
in that environment, then they don't really have the resources. So we really get excited about helping those families.
That is so true. And I remember being at the conference, right?
Mhm.
And we were sharing war stories. And it was so I am in the Ohio, Colorado market. What market are you in?
I'm in California, Arizona.
So she's in California, Arizona. Two
Mhm.
different spectrums, right?
Right, right.
But we were experiencing some of the same things.
Some
Like
of the same things, yeah.
it was like, okay, why do we get a picture of a
Well, I think the biggest war story we had was Fannie Mae. People get in their own way.
Yep, I think that
So
was
we,
really
yeah, so we
okay.
were talking about, oh, we're trying to help you, future homeowner, and this homeowner is basically sabotaging themselves.
This is so true, right? And we were
Yeah.
like, okay, I think one of the things that I do want to first talk about is you want to first make sure you're aligned with who you're working with because your lender, we are both mortgage brokers, we're independent, we can
Right.
work with multiple lenders,
Correct.
right? And so if you we're your first line of defense, and
Hmm.
I tell everybody that you need to really tell the truth. Don't hide anything because eventually we're going to find out. People think, oh, if I just keep that a secret. No, because what happens is it delays the process. And depending on what you hide or what you hold back can really
Money.
cost you money and your house.
That's
Right?
true. Yeah.
So
Well, I think people
um
don't understand that. And I will be, let's be transparent that some institutions, so for example, perhaps maybe if a bank, if you were to go to a bank and apply
mhm,
for a loan and you did tell them the truth, they might just cut you off right there and say, we cannot help you. There's the door.
mhm,
In working with a mortgage broker, it's a little bit different because we're independent. We don't work for the institution.
right.
We work for the bank. We don't work for the lender. We basically work almost like an attorney. So, and the bank is the judge for the
I like
case.
it.
Okay. So when you come to us, we want to present your case,
Yes,
you
I
know,
like
so
it.
that you get off scot free and you get the house.
Right. I like that. That's a
You know,
good analogy,
so that's
right?
why we
Because
have to know the truth so that we can advocate and defend for you properly.
and let me add to this, right? A true attorney or a true mortgage broker is going to know the law. As a broker,
Correct. Yes.
we need to know the guidelines.
Yes.
So that's why I say we're your first line of defense because
Mhm.
we have to be better than the bank because we have to know so many different things. So we have to be
Mhm.
a study of our craft, our profession, right? To
Right.
really a really true successful, mortgage broker has to know the guidelines.
Mhm.
And this is just a quick story. I was following up with my past client database. And I had got a referral from one of my realtor partners. The bank couldn't do it. So she sent them to me like for one of our creative programs, right?
Mhm.
Will
Right. Right.
require more money down, a higher rate because we have different, they call it no non QM, right? So I was like, okay, let me look at it, let me analyze it. At the end of the day, guess what I did? So the bank turned them down, so she sent them to me.
Okay.
Guess what type of loan he got?
I don't know.
A conventional loan. He didn't have he was self employed. He didn't have to go non QM.
Oh,
You
so
have, You have to know the guidelines. They
Mhm.
didn't know the guidelines. He thought I did something tricky because the realtor, no, I know how to figure things out and we have
Yeah,
all these special programs. But
sure.
no, he
You
got a conventional
So you didn't
loan.
even have to use a special program.
No, I didn't.
Okay.
And he was self-employed. It's about knowing your job. It's about knowing your craft. And like you, that's why I said you're tenacious. And
Mhm.
I am too. That's why we align. Because the goal is for people that we meet and come in contact with that trust us is to get you into the house to achieve that home ownership and start building wealth. And and he was amazing. He was amazed. I said, no, you didn't. And we
Mhm.
closed and everything, no problems at all. Great rate, can't even refinance right now because the rate is so great. You
Ready
see
to
what I'm
come
saying?
in.
You
Yeah.
just have to know what you're doing.
You have to know what you're doing. You have to know the guidelines, which in our industry means basically the rules, right?
There you go.
Rules. And you have to know your client. You have to know
Yes.
their situation. I've often had similar situations to you, Fannie Mae, where the the bank or the lender that turned them down just didn't dig deeper,
There you go. I like that. I like that.
where they
Digging
just
deep.
didn't ask more questions.
Yes.
Where I had a lady, she was turned down several banks.
Mm-hmm.
She came to me for a refinance. She had, I think it was a astronomical number. It was about $400,000 in her 401k.
Mm.
And so she was so short on qualifying. I said, why don't we just take a little money from your 401k to cover this gap? I think it was like $10,000. And we were able to get her that refinance. She just didn't need to take that much of a loan out to
Mm-hmm.
use the 401k to cover the gap. And she could get a regular loan, conventional. We
It's
just had
about
to dig deeper.
dig deeper, strategizing, knowing your client, knowing their goals,
Mhm.
and really being an advocate for them. Now, I have a question. So I think you answered it, but I just kind of want to be clear. So I'm
Sure.
gonna go through my line of
Okay.
questions, trying to
All right.
get
Here
more
we go.
structured.
Okay.
So it says, what is the biggest mistake most home buyers make when starting the process, do you think?
That's a good question. I think the biggest mistake that home buyers make when starting the process is they start it um, later than they should have.
I like it.
I think a lot of people, especially these days, get caught up in the romantic part of the buying the
Mhm,
house. So they
mhm,
like to go on Zillow. They want to watch the TV shows, love it, list it,
mhm,
DIY, buy your house, flip your house. Oh, that
mhm,
sounds so nice. All the different shows about finding and buying a house. Uh,
mhm,
House Hunters, whatever these shows are. And they're like,
mhm,
that's what I want to do. So they start that part first.
mhm,
And
mm,
then when they say, oh, I found the dream house, now what? Then they get into the conversation of, okay, maybe I'll need a mortgage or I need some financing. I need help to be able to buy the house. And a lot of times they get disappointed because what they found is their dream, maybe they can't afford, it's outside their budget, or now they're going to have to get some kind of non-QM, non-traditional loan in order to get that house because they weren't able to prepare in advance.
mm.
But they
I
wouldn't be able
like
to
that.
prepare
Mhm,
several months or several years in
yeah.
advance by talking to the money people first, us.
Mhm.
They'll be in a better position.
I really do like that, and that's one of the things that I say. Start 6 months to 12 months, or as soon as possible when you're thinking about it. Just for preparation, because I tell this story when I do my home buying class. I had this one girl. She just knew, like you said. I think before starting the process,
Mhm.
like you said, they go out and find the house first. Then
Right.
they come back and get the money. And I said, well, would you go to the store, right? With no money,
Mhm.
no budget, right? And then go shopping. Get everything you want. Then
Mhm.
get to the register with no money, then you got to say, hold on, can you hold this right here for me? And then I'm going to go, right? I mean, think about that. I went all through the store. I spent all my time. I got
Yeah.
my babies in the car. You know, just imagine this, right? Got my
Yeah.
babies in the car. I'm their mouth is watering. Oh, mom, we're gonna have this tonight. You
Yeah.
know, like, oh, we're gonna have this bed. We're gonna have this tonight. We got that. All excited. You got everybody excited. You get to the register. You're like, hold on, kids. Like,
Yeah.
hold on. Let me run. Let me run to the bank
Yeah. Or let me go work a shift real quick and earn some.
and earn the money. But you already got the house picked out. Now, by the time you come back,
It's
all
gone.
your stuff is gone, it's spoiled, it's no longer there, it's no longer usable. I know
Yeah.
that sounds wild, but that's really what you're doing if you go out looking for houses and without the money first, right? And
Mhm.
then this is the next part I want to pivot into. And
Okay.
so, if you're working with a realtor and they put you in the car and they show you more than one house,
Mhm.
before they know you have money to buy, you need to run.
Yeah.
Because as a professional, right, they
Mhm.
want to know that they're searching in the right, that first of all,
Price.
you're a viable candidate. You have the money. We're not going to get to the register, right?
Right.
You're not wasting everybody's time. And that's the key because time is money. And it's not so much about the money, but it's so much about like, why go up? Why have the disappointment of knowing, hey, I don't have the money on me. I'm going
Mhm.
to leave all my fresh food, everything on the table. The kids hungry, they ready to eat, they ready to snack. I'm gonna say, hold on, kids, just look at it. And stomach growling, you know, like I'm painting a picture because it makes no sense, right?
Right.
And so we need to really get these pictures in our minds that it makes no sense for you to do that, right?
It's
You
true.
wanna,
It's true.
you got to start with the money. So I would
But I
say,
think people started buying houses the way they buy cars. So
oh
people
yeah,
they go to
that's
the
good.
dealership, they pick out the car, and then once you pick out the car, the guy comes out and sits down with you and does
Mm-hmm.
all the financing. And what people don't realize is you can actually get pre-approved to buy a car.
Oh.
You can go to your bank and say, "Hey, I want a car loan. How
Mm-hmm.
much car loan can I get?" And that actually sets you up for success even before you go on to the dealership because you know you shouldn't be looking at certain cars. You should be looking at the cars that are in your price range
I
because your
like that.
bank has pre-approved you for the right payment, instead of stretching you too thin. So whether it's a house or a car, any kind of large financial purchase, you
Mm-hmm.
really talk to an expert first. And there's no shame in that game of saying, "Hey, I don't know anything, but this is what I want. How do I get there?"
I like that because even when you think about it, like even when you shift the mindset, right? When you think about it, it's I do that now. Now that I know, I
Mhm.
do that now because I have better negotiating power.
Right.
So they always, well, what payment you want? See, no, I'm going to tell you what the price
Mhm.
is that I want. So it's just about being strategic, and
Mhm.
I love that. And so when we were talking about shifting with the inexperienced maybe realtor that shows you
Sure.
more
Yeah.
than one house, right?
Mhm.
Before they know how much money you have, I would just caution. But that's really important, the team. And to be honest, I'm going back to this, the secret weapon in the home buying process that no one talks about really is your team.
Team.
Is your team, the level of professional that you work with. And the key thing is that everybody has to work together. That's the secret sauce, people.
That
If
is
you
the secret
wasn't
sauce.
here in the beginning, we were talking about how, like, what a mortgage broker is and how we have to be a student of our craft. We're like the attorney, we're
Mhm.
your advocate,
Mhm.
and you want that level with your whole circle, and everybody should be able to work together, right?
Yeah.
To go ahead.
And yes, and not just that, but also stay in their lane. So you want a real estate agent that's going to do real estate and be an expert at real estate. And when it comes to loan stuff, they're going to say, I'm going to refer to Fannie Mae or Tressa to answer that question for you. Just like you don't want a lender telling you, oh, you should be asking the seller for the credits on the roof and the repairs. No, that has to be the real estate agent. So everybody needs to be an expert in their part,
I like it.
because if you have and they're out there, folks. There are people that are
Oh my.
they want to do real estate and lending and insurance, and they want to wear all the hats. You're going to have less professionalism. You'll have less expertise if you have someone that's trying to be a jack of all trades.
I would have to concur with that a lot, because especially with the staying in your lane.
Mhm.
And then if anybody's online that disagree, chime in. But the thing is that staying in your lane, right? The real estate industry, with how they write contracts, what you can ask for, those things change. Just like in the lending, right? Like we can come out with so many different changes depending on what's going on in the economy and the world and everything of that nature. And I tell all the realtors that I work with, right? I say, you know what? I have a background in real estate. I
Right,
used to, keyword is used to, be a real estate agent, right?
right, right.
I buy houses, I negotiate contracts, right?
Yeah,
But I'm not going to negotiate for your client contract.
right.
I'm going to stay in my lane. And that's why it's so important to work with a team. Now, if we're talking and I know something
Yes,
and I can communicate with you and you can educate me back. Oh, you
yes,
know what I mean? I'm
yes.
all about growing feedback. I'm not saying I know everything, but I'm not going to go talk to the client until I talk to the professional. And I'm not trying to be that be the realtor, the loan
Right.
officer, the insurance agent, the
Yes,
financial planner, the
right.
CPAs. I know all of that, and I have a background in a whole lot of stuff. But guess what? I stay in my lane, and I think that's important. I have an overview, but I can say, oh well, I don't know if that's quite what it is. But go talk to
That's
your
your
you
real estate
go
agent,
talk to your real estate agent.
your
Go talk
CPA.
any questions you ask me outside of what my superpower is in this transaction. I'm not common. That's just
And that's
me.
where team comes into place, because if something comes up where they talk to me and I know this is a real estate question, I will also heads up the realtor. I'll say to you, real estate agent, the buyer asked this question.
Yep.
I told them to talk to you
Mm-hmm.
just so you can be prepared. If you want to brainstorm it with me, we can
Mm-hmm.
certainly,
Certainly
talk
do
about
that.
it. But that way it actually uplifts the entire team. Everybody does well when we support each other in our expertise.
I agree. So when we talk about that secret sauce that really like no one even thinks about, right? Like I'm not gonna say anyone because that's kind of like making a broad blanket statement, but I'm gonna say the majority, right, that don't really think about it is the home buying team. What does a good home buying team look like?
Well, you would have your main team is your lender and your real estate agent, your broker, your mortgage broker, and your real estate agent. That would be your main team. And then and they're primarily the ones that are going to be with you before, during, and after. Then you also have some players on your home team that might do a little bit of work before, a little bit of work after, but not so much in the transaction, except maybe the insurance person. So you want a good insurance agent. And a good insurance agent is going to protect your home, but also protect other things in your life.
Mm-hmm.
So they are, especially if you're a small business owner. So when you buy a house and you're a small business owner, you're now at risk because you have more assets than just your business. So you want to make sure you're working with an insurance agent or insurance broker that's going to protect all of your assets and your family. You want to another part of your home team would be an accountant, someone that's familiar with taxes. They're familiar with tax law. You know, all those things that purchasing property is going to be affect your taxes. You also want an estate or trust attorney. So that's normally after you purchase, but you can also talk to them before. But someone that still goes back to that protection and making sure that if something happens to you, your family still has that house and is not going through probate. And who else? Financial planner.
I was about to say, don't forget the financial
Financial
planner.
planner. Now that's a lot of before talk is you talk to financial planner, and then after you buy, you're talking a lot to the financial planner. In a good home team, your mortgage broker and your insurance people are going to get all those documents to your financial planner. So you don't even have to worry about it. If you have a good cohesive team, then I'm sending the CD to your accountant. I'm sending the the contract to your estate attorney. We're sending your insurance to your financial person as well as your closing statement. So if you have a cohesive team, you're set because
And
they're all
that,
communicating with each other and they all can share the documentation. So you have a one-stop shop.
I like it. And everything that you said, those are all the players. And not everybody realize those are all the players. And not everybody talks about this because you have to, like, why me and you were having this conversation and why we kind of mesh so much is that the end goal is to build wealth through real estate, something that you have to live somewhere, right? So that was when I first got in. I was like, you got to live somewhere, and that's really the reason why. One of the reasons why I tell a lot of stuff in my book, but one of the things why I bought a house is like I'm thinking, well, I got to pay somebody else. Why not pay myself? Right? It was just like, why not pay myself? That was the ringing thing in my head as well. One of those things. Then it was like, oh, the light bulb the light
Well,
bulb went on.
I think Fannie Mae too is you. I mean, you are someone that is, you're going to gather all the information. You want something, and you're also tenacious. You're going to gather all of that. Whereas your average home buyer may get intimidated or overwhelmed by all the information that's out there. So the reason we stress that the secret sauce is getting your team is then you don't have to feel like you know it all.
There you go. And to be okay, so I'm kind of glad you said that because when you talk about me being tenacious, so I tell my story a lot. I'm not a lot, but I just started really telling my story. And to be honest, I was embarrassed by my
Mm,
story. And I'm gonna tell you why, because I had these big dreams
mhm.
and I didn't know how to accomplish those. But I went to the professionals
Right, right.
and I was not advised properly. So
Mm,
that, and then it's like, okay,
okay.
oh,
Yeah.
I coulda, I coulda did that, right? And then
Right.
it's that woulda, shoulda, coulda. Then it's like, oh man, and then I did it again. And then so it was like I really didn't tell my story because it was like embarrassing because I didn't know what I didn't know.
It's
And
true.
it was like I did a lot of things young. I bought my first house in my 20s. I think I was 22. I bought a duplex. I'm a veteran and I
Mhm.
could have used my VA benefits.
Right,
And honestly, I didn't know.
right.
I didn't know that I had these benefits that I could use, or if I should use it now, later.
Yeah,
I
right.
wasn't, I, my loan officer, and I went to a bank, a well known bank,
Mhm.
didn't ask me any questions. I had good credit. I had a good job out of the
Mhm.
military and everything of that nature. And I was like, okay, let me buy my first house duplex and
Yeah,
everything of
yeah.
that. I could have been, and I saw these, I could have had a so much better situation, but I didn't know.
Yeah.
And my professional that I'm thinking you should know
Yeah, that's true.
right?
This is good. Yeah.
And so it was embarrassing. And then so after that, I bought another house. And I was self-employed then, you know, about to try to live this life, a dream. I'm a visionary. So it's
Yes,
like, oh
too.
man,
Yes.
it's time for change. And so it was the programs out there. And my home loan had a prepayment penalty.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm glad I was able to get into the house, right? This
Hmm.
was single family. My family was able to move down and everything. We moved, but it was like the rate was high. On these creative programs, they're high. It was
Yes.
no strategy. It was just like, okay, you want a house. This is what you fit into, right?
Hmm.
I remember a prepayment penalty, but I don't remember anything else. I don't remember how long you got to have it. What's the percentage? How
Right.
would this affect me? How
Right.
long? So I didn't know. And back then, the market wasn't appreciating like it is now.
Hmm.
So the prepayment was so hefty
Hmm.
that I had no equity to refinance, and I would have had to come up with more money.
Hmm.
I'm still young. I bought one house unadvised, no strategy, no questions. I bought another house thinking, okay, I know a little bit, and I didn't know nothing. It
Hmm.
was two different situations, and that was embarrassing.
Right.
It's like embarrassing to tell the story of, man, I didn't know nothing. I feel like I got. And life happens. And so I think that's one of my messages that I really like, why I'm tenacious, like you're saying, like,
Right.
because
Yeah.
I don't want people to feel what I felt. And if somebody says, well, Fanny, I really don't understand, I don't care how long it takes.
I'll explain. Yeah.
If we got to go through line by line,
Hmm.
right? I'm gonna sit there and go through line by line, because I don't want you to feel
What you felt.
what I felt.
And
And
do you
be
have any advice for some? I mean, because part of your story is a little bit of a cautionary tale, right? Can be that could sound scary to some people. Oh no, she got. How can I prevent? How can I not get got? You
and
know?
it's about, so when I tell that story, it's about the team that you work with, right?
Mhm.
Like, if you whoever you work with, if they don't ask you nothing, like, I
That's
mean
a red flag. Yeah,
nothing
that's a red flag.
about your goals, what you're trying to achieve,
That's
or
right.
even, have you done a budget? Have you looked at what if they do nothing, if they don't act, you know what I mean? If you're self-employed and the people you talk to, they don't ask you anything about your account, your financial plan, nothing to help you make an informed decision,
Mhm.
I
I
would
think
say
yeah.
run.
I think another red flag too is if they answer sometimes how they answer a question.
Mm-hmm.
If you ask a question, so for example, if you said, "Does my loan have a prepayment penalty?" and I just said no, some people would be like, "Oh, okay, well, they answered my question." But you could say no, and here's why, or no, and let me show you on your closing disclosure where you can
Mm-hmm.
check to see if there's a prepayment penalty or not.
You know
Like
what?
more education than just yes or no.
I didn't even know to ask that. Like, you
Right.
know
You
what I
didn't
mean?
know to
I
ask.
didn't
Yeah.
even I didn't even know to ask. Is it a prepayment penalty, or another? I would, you know what? I just thought about another red flag that I would say, that if you do ask about something and they're very evasive, I think this is
Right.
what you were alluding to, and they
Yeah.
really don't even give you any substance, right? I
Or they
think
just
that's
say
a,
that's how loans are done, or that's how it is. That's just how all loans are done.
Or what about this program? So as brokers, we have access to a, this is just conversation, and for me it's real talk. Yeah, at
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
point in
Yeah.
my life, life is life, right? We're true and honest. You love me, you don't.
Mhm.
I'm at that point, I'm at that age now. Before I would have, I'm at the age now where I don't, you love me, you don't. But so it's like we don't have access to everything. It's
That's right.
certain,
Yeah.
like you got community lending, they have special programs and
Right.
everything of that nature. They have all of these different things that they have, right? And so sometimes when you go after those programs, you still want to make sure it aligns. Do you know some down payment programs, you have to stay in a house for like 7 or 10 years,
Yeah.
or you're going to have to pay that down payment back. So you
Right.
have, so your
Or with
person,
interest.
yeah. So your person has to ask you, what's your goals? How long are you going to be in this? Because you may get in there with no money, but now I was just on this I do the 6 a.m. broker. It's brokers coming together, just educating each other and everything of that nature. And the president of AIM, he was saying that one of the things they're cracking down on is occupancy fraud.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you if mortgage fraud is huge. So you be, oh, I'm gonna just say I'm living there. No, they're cracking down.
No,
And
no.
what is it? It's $1 million penalty or something, jail
Well,
time too for
we have
mortgage fraud.
we have a program in Los Angeles where you can get assistance to buy a house, a property, and you have to live there, like you said, for a certain amount of time. They do an audit every year. They double check to make sure you live there.
See?
They check.
Yeah.
And if I had a situation where the customer, the homeowner, is lost her job, she's struggling a little bit, and she said, I'm thinking about getting a roommate. The city said, if you get a roommate, we no longer consider it primary residence. You have to pay the rent.
Mm. So you
So
got
you
to
have to
know.
know all those rules before you say, oh, yeah, I want to get this assistance to buy a
Hmm.
house,
Hmm. And
because
we're
they
not.
have
This
all those.
is like education. We're just trying to say the part of the secret sauce that people don't do is you don't work together, you don't ask questions, you don't work with the right team and professionals. That's kind of really like the key.
Yeah.
And so if it's a program that doesn't fit you, or maybe I don't do, I'm going to be honest with you and say, yeah, we don't do that program,
Right.
but you can go do it and you can go commit whatever fraud you like, but I'm not going to be a part of it
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
because different things have their nuances. And that's kind of like, I think, really important. And that I've learned through my pain and struggle and through my journey is to look at the motive of people and the heart of people. And if I have a question, are you evasive or are you really answering my question? And do you really care? Or am I just another transaction? Those things are important to me. So that's why I, that's why we do this, right?
Yeah.
And the
And
goal
so,
is to
yeah.
serve. Go ahead.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that people should have the confidence to be able to say, hey, I have questions. You're using terms I don't know.
Yep.
I need you to explain things to me. And if someone says, oh, you don't need to know that, or you don't need to read that document, um, you say, well, I want you to explain it to me.
Right.
I
Like,
want to read it. That's okay. This is hundreds of thousands of dollars.
it is. It's like one of the biggest purchases, or maybe the only major purchase you may make. I
I mean, I
mean,
even have some buyers where it makes me nervous because they say, "Oh, I trust you. I'm not going to read it." And I said, "Well, we can go over it. Let's go over
let's really
your
go over
home
the right. Yes.
estimate." That made me
Right.
nervous.
Yes. But I love the trust though, because that means that you're doing what you know, really
Yeah,
what you
no,
say
yeah,
you're gonna do, and
I
then
will take
getting the
care of
repeat.
that. Yeah, but I do like to make sure that people understand what they're signing.
Absolutely. Now, I want to. So, one of the things is why I like to have these conversations, right? And then I have different people on. But I really love the segment where, because I like to provide hope. So, I love the segment where I have the homeowners
Okay.
come. And
Yeah.
then, so what I'm saying is just not me saying it, right? On the
Right.
other
Right.
end.
Yeah.
Like I've been through the process numerous of times, but it's
Hmm.
different when you hear it from somebody that is not in the business and
Right.
they're being authentic as possible.
Hmm.
And I love to give hope, right? And so let's talk about a couple of myths or
Okay.
false truths and unbelief, like a person that's sitting on, they thinking about buying a home, but then they don't. It's like that thing, it's something that's just really holding them back. What are some of those myths that you see? I'm gonna share some of mine, but what do you see?
Well, I work with a lot of women, so I work with a lot of women buyers, and one of the myths is that a woman can't buy property by herself.
Mm,
That's a big
shame.
myth. Is
That's a shame.
they're like,
Shame,
I got to get the
shame.
man first, then I can get the house.
Oh, shame, shame.
Straight, straight. Yeah, that's it. That's a big myth.
My
Uh,
husband be like, what, what you trying to get now? I be like, okay, I'll,
um, I think some people don't even know. I surprise people all the time. They don't realize that you can be a born again first time home buyer.
I like that
If
born
you
again
have
first time
not
home.
owned a property in 3 years, you're considered a first time home buyer again.
Hold on, I think I might have a special guest or something. I got a special guest. Oh, I'm sorry. You still doing your line? Look, I got a special guest, y'all.
Who is this? Who is this? Hello?
Hello?
I see a baseball cap.
Oh, just
Hi.
hey, how y'all doing?
That's my special guest right there.
Oh, I'm
Look,
sorry. I
you
didn't know we was still on
no,
live.
he came in at the right time. We were talking about how women, how the myth is that a lot of women feel like they can't buy a house by themselves. They have to get the man first. What say you? How about that? Put him on the spot.
Slow down, baby. That's what I think. Slow down, baby. Yeah, because she like Monopoly. If she land on that property, she trying to buy that boy. And I'm like, no, go around the block a couple of times and get a couple, collect some 200s. All right, Trey's gonna come. We just gonna do Bible study here. All
All right.
I do. Okay.
That's hilarious.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So, yeah, I can attest to that. That it's not. Like I said, I was single when I bought my
Right.
first house.
Yeah.
You know,
I see
I
it all
was
the time.
raised. Yeah, I was raised by a single mom. She bought her first house late in life, but she was able to do it. So
My mom
that is
bought her house by
definitely
herself. She bought all of her houses by herself. My mom.
see.
Hmm.
So that is definitely a false truth, people.
Hmm.
False truth. Another thing is that it's two things. Oh wow, you just have to know your craft. A lot of people think they need to have perfect credit, but guess what?
Yeah,
A lot of people think you have to have a credit score.
that's true. Yeah.
And you do
Don't.
not.
You
I'm
don't.
closing a loan tomorrow. Didn't have a credit score.
Mhm.
Great rate. Yeah, it's just you gotta know. You know what I mean?
Right.
And
You have to know the
so go ahead.
program. Hmm.
You just
Yeah.
gotta know the programs, know your craft and everything of that nature. I think
Well, we talked
another
about the
myth,
born again first time buyer.
born again, first time buyer.
You could do that. If you've had,
I
I
like that,
call them,
born again.
I'd call them missteps. So if you've
Hmm.
had like a credit misstep, so maybe you've had a bankruptcy or collections or something in your past,
Hmm.
that doesn't mean you can't buy a house.
There you go.
So if you've had some, some missteps, some blemishes, because a credit report itself is a snapshot in time.
Thank you.
So you can always change the picture.
There you go. I
It's
like that.
just- They just took a picture of what it is today. It doesn't define you as a person. So it doesn't
Hmm.
mean you're less than because of this picture today. And
Hmm.
the picture can be different tomorrow, just like it was in the past. Nobody was born with bad credit because nobody was born with credit.
There you go. I like it, right? So, and that's so true. So they think they got to have perfect credit. Some women think they can't buy. Um, what I think one of the biggest misconceptions is that if you don't get down payment assistance, right,
Hmm.
you have to have 20% down.
Well, right,
And
right, right.
right, or even if you're a second time home buyer, you need 20% down.
No, no.
Or if you own a house, you already own a house, right?
Mhm.
Now the second loan, you need a whole bunch of money down.
No, no.
You don't. So all of those are like mistruths, and I think that's what catches a lot of people. Like, man, I don't have good credit, right?
Mhm.
And I don't have 20% down. And some people don't even say 20% down. Some people say hundreds, and you know,
Mhm.
it's like relative to like hundreds of thousands or thousands, and it's not
I
just.
mean, this goes back to even your home team. I've worked with some financial planners where they'll say you can buy, and they might even have 20% down. And they say, let's keep some of that cash. We're going to diversify. We're going to keep some of that cash working for you in some other products
Mm-hmm.
instead of putting 20% down. And you're going to put 10% down, and the other 10% that you had, I'm going to use that to work for you in a different way. So they're
It's
diversifying the portfolio and not tying up that money all in just one asset.
and that's key. That's kind of like, that's that whole team working together.
Strategy.
That's that strategy. That's the wealth building,
Mhm.
that you can diversify. You don't have to have, like, buying real estate is a huge asset, right? But you don't have to tie all your money up in that
Right.
asset. I think that is
But if we're talking about putting less than 20% down, we do have to talk about the elephant in the room,
mm-hmm.
PMI.
Yep.
That's one of the myths, is that people
Mm-hmm.
are so afraid of it.
Oh, talk
Oh,
about
Tressa.
PMI.
Yeah, they say, Tressa, I don't have 20% down, but I don't want that PMI. You know, don't give me that PMI, as if it's, I don't know what they heard about it, but they say, don't give me none of that PMI, Tressa.
I know, right? I've heard that too. Like, I'm like, okay, so you'll rather take a different type of, put more money down,
Or
tie up
wait,
more,
or you're
or
going to
wait.
wait until you can't afford a house anymore when you could have bought
Yeah.
it today and just got some PMI.
Or put, the thing is, when you think about that, let's just talk about that for a moment. Let that sit there, because I did have this happen a couple times. I don't want that PMI, right? So now, let's say you have $100,000 tied up
Mhm.
into a property,
Mhm.
right?
Right.
Because you put the 20% down. That was what you
Sure.
put down. Let's say you put down $100,000, right?
Okay.
So now you got $100,000 sitting there because you didn't want to pay what, an extra $100, $200 a month,
Yeah.
100,000
Sitting there. Yep.
sitting here doing nothing,
Right.
and for extra $200
Mhm.
a month. What about this, people? Put down the minimum as possible and take that extra, whatever
Mhm.
that would be, put
Mhm.
it somewhere else, and make two, three, four from that same
Mhm.
money.
Yeah.
I'm just, because
It's all
it's,
strategy. It's
I
all
was just about to
strategy.
say that. I was just
It
about
just
to say
depends
it's about
on how you're going
strategy.
to map out your future.
Yep.
So if you want to have your home, it is still going to appreciate
Mm-hmm.
putting it in a property. It's just, if you diversify, you're putting it in different ways, and you could see a faster return somewhere else.
Or when diversification is you having multiple multiple ways. So it's like if something falls short,
Right.
right? You
Mhm.
have the other thing. Like my mother always, my mama, love you. Hey, mama. She said, never put all your eggs in one basket, right? And that kind of sticks with me too. I don't even know how many bank accounts she got. Every bank account does something. Because I
Uh,
bet you if this bank went down, she gonna have money over here, over
right.
there. It's just like,
Yeah.
it's more, like you said, diversity. So I do like that as well.
Mhm. Mhm.
Okay, I think we covered a lot.
We did. Yeah.
I think so too. And I just, like, we would just, oh man, we could have some conversations. But we won't keep you guys. The what is something that you would really like to, like, leave with first time home buyers or somebody that's on the fence of, should I purchase today or should I wait? Or maybe I'm not ready yet. Um, I hear all this good stuff, but Uncle Jim said, don't
Right.
buy them rates too high.
Yeah.
And
Right.
then,
Mhm.
yeah, well, what would you say to that?
So I think there's a few, sort of roadblocks that people put in front of themselves. So number
Mhm.
one, your family, your background, wherever you came from before, your roots. It If there wasn't wealth or property in the family, that doesn't mean you're not worthy of it today.
I like that. Yes.
So you can change history. You can build a new legacy for your family by exploring it. And I think if it's something where you're curious about it, just be curious then, and don't get caught up in, oh no, they're going to run my credit and they're going to see all the blemishes in
Oh,
my life and they're going to see my bank statements. Just say, hey, I'm just exploring. I'm going to be curious. I'm going to investigate what this is all about and ask a lot of questions and
mhm.
find someone that I align with and get the information. And then I'll know if it's the right or next step for me, or if I should wait. And a good mortgage broker and a good mortgage advisor is going to tell you, hey, you have the tools, you have the resources, you could buy today, or they may even tell you, you need to wait. You need to wait a year. These are the things that you should do while you're waiting so that you would be in a better position. So I think explore it first before if you're not listening to a licensed person, you're listening to Uncle Jim or you're listening to a TikTok, that might not be the best advice. So I would talk to a person, a human
I,
who has a license.
okay, I like that. Those are some good key steps as well. I think I hope people who are listening or they chime in later, one of the things is that you do get from this is hope.
Yeah.
It's very important to have the right team.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you don't need to know everything. You just need to work with the right people. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes I do my buyer consultations,
Mm-hmm.
and I lead with, do you have any questions? And sometimes people just don't know. Your first time home buyer,
Right. Yeah.
they
Yeah.
don't know the
You don't know.
questions to ask, right? So, okay, it's not like you don't ask me any questions and I'm just going, give me your social. No, I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to answer your questions before you ask them, because I've been doing this for so long and I really understand what's important. And usually when I ask questions, it probes a question from you, because
Yeah.
sometimes you don't know what you don't know. And that's one of the things I don't want people to take away from this is like, I have to know everything before I get started. No, the secret sauce is working with the right team to help you accomplish your goals. And that could be the number one question you can ask.
Mm-hmm.
How can you help me achieve?
Achieve
That's a
my
good question.
goals.
How
That's a
can,
good question.
that's a great
Yeah.
question, right? So if you take nothing else from this, whoever you choose to work with, you say, hey, how can you help me achieve your goals? And if they don't ask you
Mm-hmm.
what your goals are and just say, I'm gonna just get you a loan, I'm gonna just say, "Hmm." That's all I'm gonna say. I'm like, because they have to know what your goals are to know if they can meet it
Mm-hmm.
or not.
I think the sound is off on. You're sounding funny to me. Oh, bye. Is it just me? Am I still on? Okay. I don't know if I'm still on, if you can see me, but I think what Fannie Mae was saying is um, work with somebody where you are comfortable asking the questions and have a why. Why do you want to buy a home? If you have a why, you know why you're buying, why you're interested, and what you want your future to be. then just tell that loan officer your goals. Say, hey, I want to work with someone. These are my goals. These are the things I want to accomplish. I want to be, debt free. I want to own multiple properties. I want to leave property to my kids. I want to have a space where I can eventually move my parents in. Whatever your goals are for yourself or for your family, you share that with your loan officer so that they can put you in not only in the right program today, but they can map out how they're going to help you achieve your future too. All right. She is calling me. Hello, Fannie. Hello. Can you hear me?
I can, girl. My phone went dead.
Oh, okay. I think I'm still online. Should I just log off and say goodbye to everybody?
Yeah, please do.
Okay. All right. I'll talk to you soon. Bye. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. Please put any questions that you have, and we will get those back to you. All right. Take care. Have a good one.